So I'll start my story by borrowing a line from the Little Rascals movie that says, I didn't know that falling in love could get you in so much trouble. And that's exactly what happened when I met my, ex-husband now. When he ran away from Ethiopia, we met in Kenya, fell in love, and I had no clue what life was about when one was a refugee. As we soon got married, and that is when the rubber hit the road, literally. I found out that he was extremely anxious about being in Kenya, and that even though Kenya was not the US, he still was very afraid, was very anxious about going out. He had fled his country because of the tribe that he belonged to and the fact that the government kept targeting them. So soon after we get married, he cannot go out, he cannot go shopping, he cannot go to church, and I just thought, this is no way to live. So I spoke to him and encouraged him to register with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees so that he could be recognized as a refugee. Up to that time, he had been in the country as a visitor. And in order to maintain his visitor status, he had to keep leaving the country every 6 months because you're not allowed to live in the country for more than 6 months because then you get residency status. It's kind of like the same immigration rules wherever you go to. And so Kenya was no different. So he would do that and then come back. So after we got married is when I said, you cannot continue doing this. And I could tell that they were beginning to close in on some of the loopholes that people were going through. So he registered with the UNHCR as a refugee. But that did not change his status. He was still afraid for his life. He still couldn't walk freely, couldn't go to church, couldn't meet with people, because he was always afraid what would happen if the police caught up with him. Through an interesting set of relationships that intersected, he was working for the IOM, shouldn't have been working, but he was doing translations and interpretations for Ethiopians who didn't speak English. And when somebody was about to rat him out, I suggested to him, why don't you talk to your supervisor, who happened to be an American, and let her know that you cannot continue, so quit before they rat you out. It so happened that his supervisor was actually the wife of the IOM regional director, who was at the same level with the US ambassador to Kenya. So he was actually able to recommend his case to the US embassy that my ex-husband should be resettled as a refugee, even though there was that recommendation that was being made at really high levels of people who were regarded highly and had a lot of authority. It still took us 2 years going through the background checks, going through the medical. In the meantime, our daughter had been born. And that is how I started into this life as a refugee, and I had no clue. So I was resettled as a refugee as well. They didn't know what to do with me. And I truly appreciate the gift that was given to me through that refugee journey to understand how helpless and how hopeless life can get, and how any move that you make could be your last and you have no clue what's going to happen. Unlike in the US, when you're deported, if you take the wrong steps, they put you on a plane and send you back. In Kenya, you rot in a jail until the government decides, oh yeah, we have enough money to come up with a bus ticket to send you back. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity and for that journey that I took that opened doors that otherwise wouldn't have been opened. And today, as I continue in whatever capacity that I'm able to serve, it is with a lot of empathy and a lot of gratitude for the opportunities and for the doors that have been opened to us. That is my story.